has canceled more games, or should I say postponed more games. We'll talk about why that might be a mistake coming up on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Gil Martin back with you here on the Locked On NHL podcast Monday edition. And thank you, everybody, for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Wanted to talk a little bit about the NHL's decision to cancel or postpone a number of games this coming week, mostly Canadian-based games where American teams are traveling to Canada. But the reason behind this move by the National Hockey League was that attendance would be limited. And I understand on one level the league's desire to have as many tickets sold, not to want to refund tickets that they've already sold to games, and to want to make as much money as possible. That is more than understandable. But I think that it may be a mistake for the league to make this decision, and I'll tell you why. At this point, the league will be hurt more if the Omicron variant continues to spread as quickly as it has, and more games need to be postponed, and all of a sudden the season doesn't finish by the end of April, and maybe the season even has to be shortened, or just that the season drags on. And again, we're faced with another shortened off season, and all the timing of the draft and free agency and the awarding of the Stanley Cup and the awards and everything else isn't going to be on schedule. To me, it really would be worse if the season is cut or long-term delayed. And the thing is this, Omicron has been spreading so easily. And according to most expert forecasters, and again, these forecasts do change even more frequently than the weather because we're just learning about this virus. But I think that most experts believe that January is going to be the most difficult month as far as the Omicron variant is concerned. And if that's the case, the league may have to cancel more games than they've already canceled. And that is just, maybe a mistake to cancel games that are going on right now that maybe you could squeeze in, and then all of a sudden you're going to be faced with a real crush down the stretch where teams are going to be playing, 3 games in 4 nights or 5 games in 7 nights in a given week, in order to try to compress the schedule. And you've also got a situation where, the NHL has that now extra 3-week window in which to try to fit some more of those postponed games in because teams are not going to the Olympics. But at the same time, a lot of the arenas made other commitments, whether it's college basketball tournaments, NBA games, concerts, ice shows, whatever it is, to fill those times that they thought the NHL was going to be on the Olympic break. So maybe they'll squeeze another game or 2 in, but it isn't going to be easy. And I'm just concerned that the league is sort of hurting itself long-term because things are probably going to get worse when it comes to COVID before they get better. And I'm just thinking that, they're trying to maximize their profits, and I understand that. But in the long run, this strategy may backfire for the National Hockey League. I'm hoping it doesn't. I really do want to see a complete, timely 82-game season, but it's got to be safe, and it's got to be a situation where the players and the employees are all as safe as they can be under difficult circumstances that we're all going through right now because of COVID. The other thing I wanted to touch on during the Winter Classic that was a disappointment to me. And I love the Winter Classic. I love the outdoor game. But TNT's broadcast really didn't do justice. They were announcing the women's national team for the Olympics, and someone was talking over it, and it sort of got just pushed to the side as if it wasn't very important, and that really was wrong. These women work hard for years to play for the women's national team, to get to the Olympics, and this is sort of their big moment, being named to the team, and it was fitting to have it on a nationally televised broadcast, but unfortunately, the job that TNT did just sort of made it seem unimportant, and that's not fair to the women on the team, to the people who were looking forward to this announcement. And it just, women's hockey is slowly but surely growing and building, and that's a good thing, both for women's hockey in particular and for the sport of hockey in general. And to sort of make it seem unimportant is really not right. And I was disappointed that TNT handled things the way they did during the Winter Classic broadcast. Other than that, I thought the broadcast was outstanding. Truly enjoyed the Winter Classic, but hopefully, they'll do better next round in 4 years when the women are back and ready to play. And look, let's hope that NBC's coverage of women's hockey during the Olympics will give it the full, give it the true importance that it deserves and the full attention that it deserves. And for the USA and for, Canada as well, and all the countries really, these women deserve our respect and certainly our rooting interest once the Olympics get underway. That is going to do it for this episode of the Locked On NHL podcast. I want to thank my guests, Seth Tupel and Jared Ellis, for coming by and talking a little bit about their respective teams and the Winter Classic as well. Thanks for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Now, make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. I want to thank everyone for listening to the Locked On NHL podcast. I'll be back Friday to co-host with Rachel, so that's always something that I'm looking forward to. And I'll be back next Monday with 3 of our local experts to talk about the biggest stories from across the league. We're here on Locked On NHL every Monday through Friday, so make sure you join us for that. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and thanks for listening to the Locked On NHL podcast.